Hold on a second. Here we go. Welcome to Peggy's Recovery Corner. Another episode, another day. Soccer mom's gone wild. Today, my special guest is Arianne, like Marianne, but it's Arianne Clark. And it's so good to have you on here today. Welcome to the corner.
Thank you, Pej. It is a pleasure to be here.
So Arianne, usually we give the whole breakdown of your past, sort of like what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. But first and foremost, where are you from? Where were you born?
I was actually born in Ridgecrest, California, in the desert. And then parents moved us up to, my dad was a logger, so they moved us up to Georgetown, California, small little mountain town in Northern California.
Okay.
And that's where I was raised.
So, am I echoing? I am echoing.
I hear you fine.
Okay, good. So you say in the desert, right? That's where you were at originally. Then you ended up. Where are you now? You're in Sacramento.
Sacramento. Mm-hmm.
And growing up, where were you going to high school? Where were you going to junior high school?
Oh gosh, little small mountain towns. I don't even remember what the junior high school is called. Golden Sierra was the high school, but there was like 80 kids in my graduating high school class. That's how small of a town.
So it was one of those towns where everybody knew each other.
Yes, absolutely. No stoplights. Driving to the store at 13 with the note from my mom, from my mom to go buy her cigarettes at the local store. That kind of town.
All right. Did you have siblings?
I had two older sisters, the youngest of three.
Were they role models? Hold on a second. Our sound is so messed up right now. I don't understand. Yeah. So your sisters, were they role models for you?
Not so much. Not so much.
What about your parents? Were they role models?
Well, no, I mean, they were pretty much professional pot growers up in Northern California. Yeah.
This was during a time when it was still illegal?
Highly illegal, yes. So I was raised in a very, always look out, always watch your back, always paranoid, never, couldn't have friends over. It was very secluded, very, we kept to ourselves, and everybody knew we were the local hookup on that hill.
So the local hookup, like they were saying, what's going on with this thing?
We gotta leave. There we go.
Okay, so everybody knew that they could get the weed from you.
Yes.
From your family, not from you.
Well, me eventually.
Were you smoking weed too?
Oh, at the age of, I can remember from the tiniest kid, tiniest memory, like they'd be passing the joint around. I'd be like trying to get contact high and being as close as I could, and, smoking the bong and being left over and going and sucking it out at the age of 7, always trying to do what they did.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
When was the first time you got high?
The first time I really remember getting high was the age of 14 with my mom, when I had got my tonsils out and I was in a lot of pain. She was like, "Here, this will fix it," and started smoking with me. First time I got drunk, I was 7. I was 7 the first time I got drunk. First memory I have of a mind-altering substance was huffing gas when I was 5. Okay, if we want to take it all the way back.
That was actually the first drug I ever did.
I like the effects produced.
I think our sound problem comes from your end.
Want me to move to a different spot?
Lower the volume on your end.
Okay.
Just a little. Okay.
So is that better?
Can I ask you something? How was it that you were huffing gas at the age of 5? What even brought that on? Why did that happen?
I liked the smell of it, and there was a gas can sitting there, and I smelt it, and then I just kept smelling it, and then I'd start seeing little whoo, and I just liked it, and I kept going back and do it until I got caught.
Right. First time I did it, I was 12 years old. I was mowing people's lawns, and I would go in this back shed, and I would just huff gas. I don't even know how I caught wind of it, but I started doing it, and it got me high until I accidentally spilled the gas on my genitalia. So, but that was actually the first time that I got high. Um, as far as other stuff like as far as other stuff like weed. So you did that when you were how old did you say?
My first experiences with it about 7 or 8.
7 or 8, and that
Yeah.
was
First
is
time I
that
really got high was I was 14.
all right. Other kids around you were doing it during that time. I mean, you did it because of the tonsils at first, but then people just knew like you guys were the weed hook, like the
Yeah.
weed plug,
Yeah. I was always told it was medicine. There's never a problem.
because
It's
your
just
parents were
something,
okay with it because they were selling it, so it was okay.
it was just something we did. I didn't really know any different.
All right, and then scholastically, how were you in school? Academically,
I always did very well in school. I was an overachiever.
were you getting high?
Attention, attention was my first addiction, really.
Were you getting high when you were in school,
Sure. Yeah.
and you were able to achieve and do well,
Hmm.
even getting high?
Even getting high.
Okay, you were one of those.
I
You're
was
one
one
of
of
those.
those.
The ability, right? Great ability.
Intellectual.
So, um, in high school, how was it? Did you like it? Did you graduate?
Yeah, I graduated. I graduated with good grades. I never got anything less than C's, and I was getting stoned every day at school. I was just able to still get done what I needed to do. And are you still having sound problems?
No, we're good now.
Okay, good. Um, so, but high school, I always had it like in the back of my mind, like I needed to do good in school because I needed to get off that hill. I didn't want to be stuck up there growing pot. And honestly, our house got busted when I was a junior in high school. And that really scared the shit out of me because
Not busted by who? Were you raided by the police, or was someone trying
yeah,
to
we
come
were
in?
raided by the police because they were looking for they were actually looking for a meth lab that supposedly one of my family members had, and they didn't find the meth lab. But I'll never forget that day. Like it was like standing out, getting my laundry done, and my mom comes up behind me and says, "Get downstairs and lock the door." And I look out the corner of my eye, and there's like, uh, they're all in camouflage, but there's like 15 of them rushing us, and that day really was like I knew I didn't want to live that life.
Okay,
I was gonna make something of myself.
so you said that your cousin supposedly had a meth lab. Supposedly.
Supposedly, yeah. Allegedly.
We won't go any deeper into that, but I do know that I've actually, in my own experience, I've been in 6 different police raids, and 2 of them were in my own homes. And one of them was at a friend's house when I was at the friend's, well, so-called friend, but when I was at that individual's house, I remember that the way they came in through the downstairs, we were all upstairs in some place in Huntington Beach, and I just heard a lot of commotion, and I thought, there's a home invasion going on. Like people are about to jack us. They're about to come in here. And nope, wasn't that. As a matter of fact, it was the cops, and they were coming up the stairs, and they meant business. So there's that.
And they don't come for no reason.
Oh, they don't come for no reason.
They don't come for no reason.
Not
and they've been watching your ass for a minute.
Not for supposed reasons, right?
No.
They know what they're doing. Or they have.
Well, because really, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I got home from school one day, and I remember like my whole house was like gutted. Everyone was gone. And my mom had left to Montana, and that's what they were running from, because that's when it all started. Like started getting found out. So we took off to Montana for 4 months trying to, and I thought it was just like an extended camping trip. I didn't see nothing. I had no idea. I was clueless at that point, but looking back on it, and that's where a lot of my abandonment issues, my BPD comes in too. So we can touch on that when we get there.
We definitely need to touch on it. As a matter of fact, that somebody actually wrote over here, might be a friend of yours. I also have BPD, and I have a long history of addiction. Okay, so one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on here today is obviously you and I, we've never met in person, but we run around some of the similar recovery circles. That's how we
Yes.
kind of met. We met during the pandemic and online, and we kind of we be vibing, right? Like we're
Yep.
I think we're cut from the same cloth, definitely.
We're trudging. We're
Like
trudging.
they say in recovery, we are people who would not usually mix, but I think I would have mixed with you. Like
Mhm.
I probably would have mixed things with you. But anyway, so so I do know about you a little bit. There's one time you mentioned that you were diagnosed with BPD, but I want to talk about that in a sec. But I want to know, like in your high school years, like you graduated like, with
Mhm.
honors. Is that what? Okay, and then
It wasn't necessarily honors, but I always got good grades. So, but
you did
I
well. You
definitely
graduated
graduated.
on
Yes.
time. Did you graduate
Yes.
on time from a
Yes.
regular high school or from a continuation school?
Regular high school.
Regular high school. And then you went on to. Were you in relationships in high school?
Yes. All the
Okay.
time.
Were they usually unhealthy relationships?
Oh yeah. Every relationship I've been in hasn't been unhealthy. Because it's all about what I wanted, what I needed, how I was going to get what I wanted from whoever I was with. So.
Okay. And then did you have kids at a very young age?
No. Well, I was 21 when I had my first son.
Okay.
So after high school, moved down to Sacramento and went to college, put myself through college and worked.
Okay. So, and then during that time, was there drug use?
I'd always smoked weed, And during that time, the drinking really, I'd be going to the bars, blackout drunk every weekend, partying.
Okay.
And always did acid, always did mushrooms, always did it, but I always was able to moderate it, and still go to work. Still,
I mean, this is Northern California. That's what people just do. They like to party.
right.
They like to drink. They like to do hallucinogens. They like to do stimulants. Did you? Okay, so you had your first kid. Were you married?
I got married shortly after my first son was born.
Okay, and then what? Like, tell me about your 20s, your young adulthood.
Well, I thought, because I had been partying heavy right before my son was born, and I thought that was going to fix me. I thought having a family and getting married and having kids was going to calm me down. And it did for about 2 years. And then one night went out to a bar with a girlfriend and ended up cheating on my husband at the time. We ended up working it out, and because I found Jesus and quit everything, and then I had 3 more sons and stayed clean. I was clean for until my youngest son turned till he was born. So, and my youngest son's 11. So there was a good chunk of time that I was a Christian, but I was always, I look back now and I was always like, whatever I did, I had to do it to the extreme. Like I used to race motocross and I had to do it to the extreme. I had to do something that was like life-threatening or on the edge or I was never satisfied with just what I had. I was always restless, irritable, and discontent.
So you said you found. Did you? And you were Christian for a period of time. Did you stop being Christian? Did you lose Jesus again?
I lost him.
It's funny when people say like I found Jesus. I'm like, was Jesus lost?
Well, no, he wasn't lost. The thing was, I always had this sense of there had to be more to life than what I was living. This sense of just unease and never feeling whole within myself. Always trying to fill whatever was in me with something, whether it was drugs or kids or God or whatever it was. And I saw my life kind of unraveling after I cheated on my husband for the first time, and knew that I needed to find something spiritual. There was just something in me and I just kind of started seeking, and that's when I accepted Christ in my heart and wanted to be a good Christian and do the right thing and be a good mom. And it worked for a while.
Were you sober?
I was sober.
Okay.
Yeah.
Completely
sober.
I'm echoing. I think on your end, the volume, something's up with your computer.
Is that better? So turn it down.
Okay, yes, you're good.
Okay.
Now, did you ever experience any kind of domestic violence?
Not until after I started using drugs again.
And you started using drugs, what, in your mid 20s?
No, I was, let's see, about 33 when I started using drugs again.
How long had you stayed sober?
About 10 years.
And did you stay sober just like through the church? Was it, there was no 12-step world or anything like that?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't do any 12 steps at that point. It was through the church and having so many kids. I had four little boys that, that's all I did.
At that point in your early 30s, you had 4 boys already.
Well, I had three, the three of my sons. And it was after the birth of my 4th son is when I started using again.
Okay. And what did you start using?
Norcos. They sent me home with a prescription of Norcos after that 4th son. And
why? Was it for pain?
yeah, after you have a baby, that's typical. They'll do that, and they give you a 30-day supply, and it's
So
like
your addictive behavior started to, the beast was unleashed. Like you
yes, that was the beginning. And it I would just take one a day and be like, oh, this feels good. I can deal with these kids that are driving me crazy. Because at that point I had 4 kids, 2 of them were still in diapers. I owned a business. I had my own accounting business. I was a full-time mom, full-time wife, and I had this image to uphold, this perfection. Like I had it all together. And I was dying inside. Really, I was miserable. But that one pill every day was kind of like, oh, this made me feel good, And then the one pill turned into me getting more refills and then me making up stuff to go get more refills. And then once the refills ran out, then I started buying them. And then when the money would run out, I'd start stealing money to buy them. I mean, I would even go to people's houses that I knew just had surgery to bring them a dinner, so I could con them out of their pills or steal their pills. One of the two.
So you were just going after just pills. You weren't. Did you ever get into other stuff like heroin, other kind of opiates?
It took about 5 years. No heroin. It took about 5 years for me to switch my addiction to meth.
Okay, so that's kind of a dramatic switch because you went from downers, from opiates, from a depressant to a complete stimulant, like the ultimate stimulant.
But in my thinking, I was like, the next step is heroin. If I don't get off these pills, I'm going to end up an heroin addict. So I need to, and I weaned myself off the pills and started smoking meth to curb the feelings, and then I was on and cracking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your transition from you kind of just answered it. You said you weaned yourself off the pills. Did you like detox in your own house? Did you just taper down and just bear the pain of the withdrawals, or what did you do?
I tapered down and just dealt with it.
Okay.
Muscled through it. And smoked meth to curb that. Okay.
So your meth career started in your mid to late 30s?
Yeah, I was like 37, 38.
Okay. And then it was just smoking it? That's what you were doing?
Yeah, smoking it, snorting it. I never shot it. Okay. Because that was too junky for me. I thought that, then I'd be a real junkie.
If you're shooting it, then you're a junkie, but I'm not a junkie.
Crazy. I was crazy.
I know addict thinking all too well. Okay. Yeah. So you were now living that type of lifestyle, and I know that lifestyle all too well. Now I want to know something. In this whole journey, along the way, where were you diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and by who? Was it a psychiatrist?
Yes, in residential treatment.
When was that? After you got sober?
Yeah, well, I was 41 when I went to my first residential treatment after the birth of my daughter. And
this will be your 5th kid.
That'll be my 5th kid. Yeah.
Do your kids all have different fathers, or do some of them have the same fathers?
All 4 of my sons all have the same dad. I was married to him for 15 years, and for the last 5, I was insanely addicted to Norco, and he had no idea. I hid it from everybody. Not one person.
That well, and he didn't know. Okay.
He had no idea.
And then and then you had your daughter, and you went to treatment. So somebody watched your daughter while you were in there.
I lost her to CPS. CPS came and got her.
Okay. And how did CPS catch wind of you being an unfit mother?
Because I was using meth the whole time. I was pregnant with her, and I just couldn't stop. And I had attempted to get into treatment a couple times, and unsuccessfully. I just didn't go. And I sobered up about 8 days before she was going to be delivered, and thinking that CPS would stay out of my life. And I had dirty tests all the way up until I gave birth to her. So even though she wasn't born pos-tox and I wasn't positive when I gave birth to her, they still came and got her.
So they were waiting because they were waiting because they knew along the way that you are not clean, and so you just need to give birth to this kid so they can come and grab her from you.
Yeah.
Grab her from okay. Wow. How long did they keep her? Or did they put her in an orphanage, or did somebody raise her from infancy?
No, as soon as I knew I was going to lose her, before actually I delivered her, I reached out to get help and to get into a treatment center, because the thought of not having her just, and I tried. I was just desperate. I was hopeless. I didn't know what to do at that point, So I reached out and got on a list for residential treatment that allowed moms and babies, and coordinated to where she was only in foster care for about 3 weeks until I could get her back, because I needed to have that 2-week blackout at residential, and then they were able to place her with me at residential. She spent her first Christmas with somebody else, because she was born on 12/13/19. And
okay. So while you were pregnant and you were using, did you feel a sense of guilt often? And then,
every day.
And then when you had her and they took her away, did it take not but very long for you to make this decision that fuck this shit, like I want to be there for my kid, I'm going to get well, I'm going to get sober, I'm going to do this the right way, I don't want to be on this shit? Is that what happened?
Well, and I had, I had 4 other kids that I didn't have custody of and wasn't visiting. So that was always in the back of my mind. I knew I needed help. I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do. And like I said, I cleaned up 8 days before she was delivered, before I went and had her in the hospital. And I knew then that I couldn't keep doing this. I had to find help. I had to get help, because I was homeless, living in my car, 9 months pregnant, about to give birth to this baby, didn't have no place to go. I didn't know what to do, and I knew that residential treatment was the only place that I could get the help that I needed.
Okay. And so, how long were you?
60 days.
Do you hear the echo on your end?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I wonder if they hear it.
Huh?
Do you see comments? Can they hear it?
Some people actually texted and said that they could hear it. It doesn't matter. This is such good material to talk about, because I love hearing about your experience and what ended up happening. So you were in treatment for how long?
60 days.
60 days. Okay. And then after that, you were able to be reunited with your kid and go to a place that accommodates women and children?
No, I was I was only without her for 3 weeks. So they placed her with me in residential treatment after the blackout period at residential. So she was with me. She's been with me since she was 3 weeks old. I've had her.
Awesome. And she's how old now?
She's 21 months.
Awesome. And you stayed sober from there on?
Yep.
And you took this thing by the horns?
Yep.
Okay. When you say you still have problems with relationships, I think you told me yesterday, you haven't been in a relationship since you got sober, right?
No.
Why?
Because I didn't even know how to be in a relationship with myself. So I really had to, and I'm still working on learning who I am, and I realized through the steps that every relationship, because we do a sex inventory, every relationship I've ever had, it's all about manipulating, controlling. I was fully selfish and self-centered in every relationship I'd ever been in. So for me to get involved with somebody in recovery, I would have been causing them more harm because I knew that I wasn't healthy enough to be in a relationship with somebody.
Arianne, when you first had somebody diagnose you as borderline, did you believe them
Yeah,
right away?
right away.
Because they explained to you what borderline consists of?
Yes.
And it consists of a lot of things. I mean, it's not like all borderlines are just there's just one hardline way of being borderline. There's many different components to it, depending on.
It's very difficult to diagnose because there's different types of borderline personality disorder, and it oftentimes people will mistake depression or anxiety for borderline personality disorder. So, and I always was very anxious, had panic attacks, but when I got to treatment, it was like my severe reaction to very normal everyday disappointments or situations is one of the indicators. And then another indicator was my fear of abandonment. I have such a fear of being left that I push people away because I'm afraid of them leaving me, but then I do the exact opposite and end up pushing them away because I'm so freaked out about being abandoned. And then impulse control, very impulsive, very, I had gambling problems. I mean, throughout my life, I can see the impulse control issue, always kind of living on the edge, wanting to do things that were near death, living just a crazy lifestyle. And oftentimes in recovery, you get those dual diagnoses. Addiction often comes with another, mental health diagnosis as well. So it wasn't surprising to me at all. It was actually relieving because then I kind of had a focus on what I could do to get better and to get help.
Yeah, I have worked in the treatment setting a lot. A lot of my God,
Needs to be closer to you.
it's not working like that. I've seen a lot of people in the treatment that were diagnosed as borderline, and
Just keep going.
I wanted to ask you: do a lot of people that you've experienced and known of that have BPD, borderline personality disorder, become addicts too?
I don't really know a lot of people with BPD, honestly. Want me to move into a different room?
Sure.
See if that helps.
I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but keep talking. Don't worry about moving. It's not.
No?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I don't think I've ever really met too many people with BPD. And I think maybe that's because it's so hard for people to get a diagnosis for it because there's so many variables to it. And oftentimes people who are, it's not, what's the other, not borderline personality, bipolar, it's not a mood disorder, what I suffer from. It's not just a high and a low. I could experience sadness and excitement all within a 10-minute time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of crazy.
And do you still experience?
Yes, I do.
Do you take medication?
No.
Was it recommended to take medication?
It was, but I don't need the medication as long as I'm working the 12 steps of recovery.
So do you think the 12 steps help somebody with borderline?
Coupled with addiction, absolutely.
Awesome. There's the hope. That's a lot of hope. I have met I've met a lot of people that have been in recovery that have been diagnosed with borderline, and actually, it's been a really hard thing for them to work through. Some have been diagnosed, some of them haven't been diagnosed, but I often have thought to myself, maybe it's that, maybe it could be that. Where do you think it originates from?
Not having a sense of self, like that hole I was talking about earlier, always trying to fill up that hole within me. Not, it's an identity thing. You're not really sure who, and I remember too, I was thinking about this earlier. I have memories when I was like 9 years old, looking in the mirror and asking myself, who are you? Who are you? Like, not what 9-year-old does that? Like, who are you? Like, because I really didn't know then either, so that's been part of the challenging journey, is getting to know who I am and my sense of self. And I think that that's been a challenge in the process.
Do you still do you get lonely? Do you want to be yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Do you still have impulsive behaviors?
No.
You've become aware of them.
Aware of them.
When you want to act impulsively.
Well, and when, like, okay, because sex was always an issue, or sexting was an issue, because then it fills that little piece of me. And there's been times where I would start that with somebody in recovery, and then I'd be, oh my gosh, nope, I'm causing you harm. I'm causing myself harm. That's got to stop. I can't. And then I have an amends to make if I go on further. But I see the harm that I cause other people by my behavior and by my action. So that's the awareness that is different from before. Before, I was just a freaking train wreck. I just didn't care who I'd hurt in the process of getting what I wanted. But now I have a sense of what I do to other people.
How did you get turned on to the recovery world?
After, when I was graduating rehab, I knew that I was going to need support after that. And H&I came into the rehab, and that's how I found my first sponsor, was through H&I, through Alcoholics Anonymous. And I am very active in H&I now today because of that, because recovery is great for when you're there and you're learning. And, I was homeless. I didn't have any other place to go, but recovery needs to continue after you graduate those treatment centers. And the 12 steps is where it's at. I mean, I've never experienced anything else like the 12 steps. Like,
So
changed my life.
You're not homeless anymore. Your kids have their mother. You're comfortable in your skin, it seems.
Getting there.
The best thing about you, Arianne, is that you help a lot of people, and I know that about you. You do practice the three sides of the triangle, and that matters a lot. It's just, you're a beautiful soul, and I just happened to be in a room one time online where I heard you say the words borderline personality disorder, and I was like, oh, I know that. I know about that. I know about that because I've been in relationships where that consisted of.
I'm sorry. Probably did not end well for you.
Actually, it did not. I could tell you stories off the air, but it was a learning experience, definitely. But I do have a deep sense of compassion for those who. I mean, listen. Let's be real. I had a therapist on one of my podcasts, and borderline is something that hasn't been labeled as borderline for a long period of time. Sort of like bipolar and those things. They originated over the last decade or 2 decades, or maybe even 3 decades, to where people actually labeled certain disorders that people have as those, right? And I often have wondered, I think every kid looks in the mirror at themselves and wonders who they are. So is everybody borderline? Do people have borderline tendencies? Are some of us narcissists? Are we clinically diagnosed as narcissists, or do we have narcissistic traits where we think we know better? And where does that originate from? Often, like, if we're raised in a family where, like, dad thinks he knows it all, well, then we might actually kind of take some of that on and become that type of person. So definitely, I love when someone can come to terms with the disorder. If like somebody, if, and I asked you, like, did when the doctor told you that, like, did you take it on right away? Because there's a lot of people that are resistant. They don't want to believe it. They want to think it can't be me. It's not me. That's not true. I'm not going to accept this. I don't need to work through this shit because this is just who I am, and I got my own issues, and don't label me, right? So, and sometimes like this is about us all having human experiences. So to see a person like you who grew up in an environment like you did, where there was always something around you where that it seemed okay to smoke weed and things like that, and then go into addiction, then get out of addiction and lean towards the church, and then get out of that, and then go back into addiction because of some legitimate pain that you had, develop this dependency upon opiates, and then go into other addictions like gnarly fucking addictions. Not to discount or like say that Norcos aren't gnarly. Norcos are gnarly, especially if you're seeking them and going and stealing from people to be able to get their pills, right? But then going into full blown meth addiction, and to get out of that and to lose your kid, like it's the little signs that happen to us in life where it's a series of events that will happen, I believe, to an addict or an alcoholic or someone with mental health, to where they realize, holy shit, like my life is not fucking working and I need to fucking do well. And you did, and look who you are now. And I'm really happy that they didn't take your kid for that long. You said 3 weeks, and you know what? Those are probably 3 weeks that you needed to be able to fucking really work through your shit on yourself and be able to be deserving of having your kid back in your life, and be a fit mother or learn to become a fit mother. And that's what you did, and I think that's wonderful.
But I was also on their ass. Every day I'd be calling CPS. I'd be calling CPS, the foster care, the rehab. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? I'm willing to do anything. I'll go to any lengths to get that baby back. Like,
why does that not surprise me with you?
I was persistent, because that was it for me, Paige. I couldn't, that was it. I knew that was the.
Well, you're a fucking miracle. I'll tell you this right now. For one, it's because you're sober, and for two, it's because you're working through your stuff continually. It's an ongoing process, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. You know,
Well, thank you.
I adore you. I think you. There's a lot of people that can get a lot out of this, watching this today, with all of the sound issues that we had, the technical difficulties. But I just know that you're a powerhouse. You're amazing, and you're going to be able to continue to keep helping a lot of people. And keep doing what you're doing. Is there anything you want to say as we close it out to give some hope to people?
I would say if you're struggling with the label of a diagnosis like that, don't look at it as like a label. Look at it as a chance to get the treatment that you need, because that's what having the knowledge of understanding what it is that I suffer from, now I can have the tools that I need to get to the solution. So that's what I would say. You know, you're either struggling with BPD or addiction or both. Just reach out, and you don't have to do it alone. That's what we're here for, you know.
Awesome. You're amazing. There is one person that said she'll listen to the whole thing, missed some of it because of work, but she'd love to connect with you all. I know her personally. We'll make sure that you guys get connected.
For sure, yep.
If anybody else has any questions or anything, by all means, please go ahead and leave messages down in the message bar, and we will try to answer them to the best of our ability. Thank you, Arianne. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paige.
Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, you too.
Bye.